as kids, we always say we're told to say we're sorry, right? But when between being a child and being a parent, did we stop saying, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
At least to the child, anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Uninvited Guest Podcast.
Hosted by Samina
And Marissa.
We are the mother-daughter duo.
Turn one of your little friends.
Get ready to ditch the filters.
We're trying to break generational curses. Here, the conversations must flow free because our real life interpersonal growth depends on it. So get ready to be a part of the twists and turns in our own life stories that could give any comic book baddie a run for their money.
If you're up for some heartfelt storytelling that celebrates growth, resilience, and the struggle to keep going, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Marissa. I am your resident host millennial with, I don't know how many days left until I turn 30, but there are a few days left because I'm on the 2-month marker from the day that we're filming this episode.
Yay.
Yay. It is a yay. We're reporting from my home in California, in Los Angeles. And I have my mom here I'm so excited. So, but my open tabs right now are fall recipes. I know. In the kitchen, I am like, this is probably my favorite season for cooking. It's like soup season, all the things. And then let's see what else. Open tab. Back to school ideas with the little one. So recipes there. And the Olympics, because we're on week 2, I think.
So back to school, are we going to do like a back to school party?
You planted that in the little one's head.
Ooh.
And so I don't think I'm going to be able to get away without doing it. It's happening. It's happening in some shape, fashion. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my name is Samina. I'm your resident host, menopausal mommy. And as you know, I'm recording here with my daughter in her home in sunny California.
Hey.
Yes, enjoying the weather, the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have open tabs that range from the Olympics, because it's actively going on, and we're loving all the sports and all the competition, and then heels.
Oh.
Looking for some cute heels. Yeah, I discovered that Honey Dad had seen me in heels recently when I went on my interview, when I was just asking how did I look, just to make sure I look polished.
Yeah.
And he was like, you look sexy in those heels. And I was like, I was like, sexy in heels? Like,
you're like, I'm going in for an interview.
Yeah,
I'm not trying
to be sexy. But then I was like, wait a minute, like, have you never seen me in heels? And we've been together for 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And I was like, wow, that was like so strange, because you knew me. I walked in heels every day for at least 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's just probably right before I met Honey Dad that I stopped wearing heels.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to just a little spice in our relationship every once in a while, go on a date and have some heels. So now I got to find some that I like, that I can also wear more than once too.
Yeah. But that's like, this is not the subject of the conversation today, but it's just like the importance of compromising. And I think when people hear the word compromising, it's like, oh, I have to do this grueling or like this gruesome task that I don't want to do that will appease my partner. But sometimes it's just like doing a thing that you've abandoned because you were no longer like interested in doing it anymore. But it doesn't necessarily mean that interest is gone.
Right.
You just didn't have, I don't know, like you didn't have anyone to do it for. Like there was no, and not to say everything we do is for recognition, right?
Right.
But it's still like
it's nice.
It is nice.
It's nice to acknowledge, yeah.
Right. And so like now knowing you're going to have that acknowledgement is just like, I think I can go put on some heels.
I can put on for a couple hours. I can do that.
I'm excited. Yeah. We're the same size, so I might be getting some new heels, y'all. She's like, where'd the heels go? they're in California.
That's okay. Like I said, I'll probably only wear them once or twice anyway.
Yeah,
So
we'll see.
yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what's your word of the week? Let's talk about it. What's your word of
Ooh.
the week? I know mine.
I don't have a word of the week. I'm just wait. No, I should say enjoyment. Is that a word?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm enjoying my time in California. Enjoying
Yeah.
being around you and family and friends and
Yeah.
just everything that's going on. So yeah.
Yeah, for those that don't know, like, live neighbors with my high school best friends. And it's such a treat because my mom knew them when I was in high school, and my mom now knows them as I'm getting ready to turn 30. One, it's just such a blessing to have those friendships last so long, but it's too great because you were always a part of that narrative and even their lives. Like, they come to mama.
Yeah.
You are mom. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being in full mom mode with your additional kids.
All my additional kids. Yes. My bonus kids.
Your bonus kids. Kids. Yes, absolutely. Well, my word of the week, I will piggyback and say that there is extreme enjoyment because I'm so glad that you're here. And there's also extreme exhaustion. I have slept very little in the past few days. And so I'm just exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm so exhausted. I just want a good night's rest. And partially it's like my own doing, like, but yeah, I would love to sleep.
Maybe you should do like a mini staycation.
We did that.
No, I mean like another little mini staycation.
Another mini, okay.
Like just to get sleep and knowing that there's nothing on the agenda. So that's the difference. Like
Yeah.
if you do a staycation and you always have plans to do something, but sometimes the best plans are no plans.
Yeah.
And just like rest and, recharge and then get ready for whatever else life has to throw at you once you're done from the vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely should take that advice and apply it, and we'll get there somewhere. Someday.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, sooner than later, we got to get into this conversation.
Okay, I'm ready.
But I am excited about it because it's going back to the beginning of why we even started this podcast in the first place. You've been here for now a few days, and you've been able to be around, friends that you've known of mine for some time, and then new friends. And you are mama wherever you go. And you just have this warmth about you where just people are like, hi, my name is, and I'm going to tell you my whole life story in like 0.2 seconds. To which I feel like you've also given me that gift. And in doing so, you've had, I don't know, some just like interesting thoughts around what you have gotten.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to like talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So, talking to your friends, which are all adults like you now, right?
Yeah.
You're all in the same range, either late 20s, early 30s, but you're still, but what I've learned is that there are still adult children
Yeah.
that are having difficulties with their parents.
Yeah.
Mostly when I've talked to daughters, obviously, and and my advice I've always given advice that, your parents are hurting your mom is hurting just as much as you are, I promise you. And to keep trying, try to extend the olive branch. But then, I just had a conversation, like literally before we started recording, you were actually having a discussion with one of your roommates.
Yeah.
And the conversation that you guys were having then made me think, I wonder if we as parents say I'm sorry
Yeah.
when at the moment, when the child in proximity of the moment, may not be right that moment, but
Right.
As the child is hurting, if we do something as simple as saying I'm sorry, would that change how the strain between the parent that, either whether it's the daughter and the mother, the father and the son, or whichever one,
Yeah.
any of the dynamics.
Yeah.
Would that help alleviate that strain so that, that problem would no longer exist? And tell me, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, funny enough, because you asked me the question, like, have I ever said sorry to you? And like my first reaction so quickly was like, no. And it wasn't that I don't think I ever knew that I was desiring a sorry, but I also know how much a sorry can do.
Right.
Right? Like as someone's partner, I know my first step in healing an argument and healing a disagreement is saying sorry, like fessing up and being like, look, I messed up in this area. And so yeah, like that feeling immediately was like, oh my gosh, like we need to learn how to say sorry. And I'll just speak for like my generation, and it's kind of, what we're like realizing, or you're realizing and bringing to the table, is for me and being a parent figure, I don't want to look like a superhero in this world, because this world is just so hard for everyone. And I'm like, I like saying sorry because it humanizes me. I like to say, like, I messed up to those that I'm parenting, because it does humanize me. And they're like, oh, it's on her. Like, we can move past it. We can go forward. We can make the next steps because she said sorry. And it's easy for me. It's easier for me. I'm not saying it's like easy every time, but it's easier for me to say because I don't want to be held up.
Yeah.
In that.
That's interesting, because I mean, it's really interesting to think. As kids, we always say we're told to say we're sorry, right? But when, between being a child and being a parent, did we stop saying, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
At least to the child, anyway.
Yeah.
To your offspring. Because I'm sure I would still say I'm sorry to someone in the workplace.
Right.
If, like, I messed up on a project or missed a deadline, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Apology would come, no questions.
Right.
But why would I not say, I'm sorry? It's very interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like the dynamic, like the power dynamic that is kind of blanketed on like parent-child relationships of like, you're the child. You can't tell me what to do. I tell you what to do. So I have to tell you to tell me sorry, right? Versus like a colleague is more at the same like playing field.
Right.
Or I think in like a boss employee or employer-employee relationship, there is kind of a strain, a tension of, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or like,
so I need to rectify it.
yeah, where with your child, you're rectifying our behavior and telling us what we did wrong. Instead of being like, but it takes two.
Right.
Regardless of if my actions, parents still model a behavior. And so if you teach me how to say sorry by telling me sorry, then it will come easier for me to tell
someone else
I've wronged. Yeah, sorry.
Including your family member, obviously.
Yeah. And then when it does come time for the parent-child or parent-adult-child relationship to come into play, because I do feel like as we get older, I have kids and you're like, oh, well, you why are you parenting like that? Like there's nitpick that you can nitpick about us, and there's things that we can nitpick about you. But if we learn how to, I guess, just like humanize that person, I feel like, I don't know, there would just be less tension at all in all, I don't know, aspects.
I think you might be right on that. I mean, I've always said, like, there's no handbook for parenting.
Absolutely.
And every child is totally different. But honestly, if there was anything, I think the I'm sorry makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't stop saying I'm sorry to your children. Like,
Yeah.
you can say it to everybody else,
Yeah.
but not stay. Yeah, let them know that you're human, because I'm 100% sure that when you were born, that
Yeah.
I wanted you to feel that I was perfect. You know,
Yeah.
and I wanted you to model after perfection, pace.
Yeah.
So I probably put those barriers on myself, those burdens on myself, knowing I couldn't live up to that standard. And so maybe just out of frustration,
Yeah.
is maybe that's why I never said sorry, because I really should be saying sorry to myself for even allowing myself to not be human.
Right. To hold that standard.
Yeah,
for
because
yourself.
I remember just doing something as simple as when you're watching movies. I'm going to go back to the movie things. Like I said, I remember actually when I was home with you in the very beginning, I used to watch soap operas all the time. And then I remember, oh, this is junk TV. Like, we are not watching anything promiscuous, no profanity, any of that.
Yeah.
So soap stopped,
Right.
right? But then that carried on into movies.
Right.
We only let you see G movies up to a certain age, and then went to PG, and
Yeah.
as your age progressed. But I didn't want anything. I wanted everything to always be innocent.
Yeah.
With you, and then that was the same with music. If you
Yeah.
ever think about,
Yeah.
and so,
the way that I was sheltered.
but that wasn't so. But I had to live that life with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I put that burden of like perfection
Yeah.
on myself when I couldn't really hold up to that. And I think maybe a lot of that. Now I'm thinking maybe a lot of that is just the fact that because I was so bottled in, it was really hard to say I'm sorry, because now I put you in the same box that I'm in.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there's just tension.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you can't even communicate to yourself, like, why am I frustrated?
Yeah.
Why am I mad that she did this?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm mad that I did. I'm actually mad that I did this and made her do this. But finding that I guess starting point. And so for anyone, parent or child, adult child, the first place is probably to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I am sorry. And look at yourself in the mirror. I don't know, whatever works for you. Really apologize, assess what you put yourself through, the standards that we put on ourselves. And I think it is, like you said, there's no handbook for parenting. But because there's a handbook for everything else, you are doing it as you go. And sorry just never seems to be a part of the equation.
Right.
Like, if I were to be, I feel like if there's ever a parenting book that would be nearly perfect, it would just be a bunch of I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like every chapter.
Just allowing yourself to be sorry.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, like, it seems, like you said, it's something as simple as sorry.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. Because once you say sorry, though, you also have to try your hardest to remain in alignment with what you said.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said earlier, of like, keep trying to, reach them because they're hurting just as much as you are. But in knowing of that, keep trying, is it going to be hard for them to say sorry and then actually grow? Like, are they ready to actually grow? Which is where I feel like sometimes these parent-adult-child relationships are growing deeper tension because they're not necessarily willing to grow. Because, they say, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't live by that. But some people are like, well, that's just the way I am.
Right.
That's just the way I am. And we do know that it kind of shows as people age. People
Right.
get into their fixed ways. And so I'm like, well, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I wonder if it's because, like, for me, I'm always thankful. I think I've said before, I worked around a lot of women and got a lot of advice, whether it was good or bad. So, but I was able to, I mean, really, honestly, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I was
yeah.
able to disseminate what worked for me and what didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Right? Or what I thought worked for me and what I didn't. But I wonder if people aren't necessarily communicating with others any longer. Like if they're isolated. Because I think people are more isolated these days.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so how do you grow if you're by yourself? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You just, like, you opened up a whole can of worms, by the way. But, like, yeah, how do you grow if you're by yourself, or if you're, I don't know, I guess once the child does leave the house and you don't see them every day, you're not even seeing us grow.
Right.
Right? Like, there are so many daily actions I took throughout college, after college, that you didn't see my micro movements
Right.
of growth.
Right.
You saw the greater picture, and that's where parents, like, they'll take credit. Oh, that was me.
Right.
Whatever. But
It was me, by the way.
okay. We'll talk about that. But, like, I think in isolating yourself, which again, like, that is why, like, over communication is key.
Right.
Because I need you to see all of me that is making the mistakes, and all of me that is, like, growing into a better human. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have to see both sides to appreciate.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get to, is like, you have to see both sides to appreciate the person and where they're at. I had to see both sides of you. Once I realized how human you were as my parent, I was like, man, I've been giving her a hard time.
Ooh,
Calm down.
preach on that one.
But it wasn't until that, because I told you the standard you set was perfection.
Yeah.
And that wore on me of, like, I don't even know where to begin on how to be perfect. But I felt that. And I didn't know that actually started with you
Right.
putting that perfection meter on yourself.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a component in the process. It is really opening up and being vulnerable and allowing for people to, don't isolate yourself in your darkest moments,
Oh, there you go.
in the darkest parts of yourself, because it's like, who's to say that's the worst part of you?
Yeah, but I don't even necessarily the darkest, because not during the darkest moments did I get advice, but I always heard what they said. I just may have put it on the back burner
Yeah.
for later,
Yeah. Yeah.
or when I heard they're bad, a lot of it wasn't advice. I heard bad stories about their kids, right?
Right.
And so, but what I did take from it, like something I didn't want to do,
Yeah.
and that was also a growing part. So I'm like, oh, she did this, and now her kid's pushing back. We're seeing the fruits of that labor,
Right.
or I say rotten fruit, basically,
Right.
of that labor. I definitely don't want to do this. So how can I avoid this in our relationship? So I don't think it's necessary in just the darkest, because we're all continuing to change and
Yeah.
grow and learn.
Yeah.
So I don't think you want to wait to the darkest moment, because I think to avoid the dark moment,
Right.
You have to.
You have to already know, you have to know that it's coming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I want to, it's kind of like I always say, when you were 2, most people have a terrible 2. You were the perfect kid, right?
Yeah.
You were the perfect kid.
Yeah.
And then 14 hit.
I was like, rage.
That's when I got the terrible 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, if I had to do it all over, I would have preferred that terrible 2 to hit, because I was expecting that one. So when everyone had told me about, when they hit teenagers, you wait, I was like, y'all don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I didn't believe the terrible 2. I didn't go through the terrible 2.
Yeah.
But so I just think it's just continuing to learn, and maybe make sure you can take in what people are saying, and just, weed out the good, and weed out the bad, take in the good. So.
Yeah. And it's like, I've said this once before, but like what you've been really good at is like evolving. Like, okay, that worked at that point. That no longer works. Like, let's see. And it's not necessarily giving up. I think it's the opposite of giving up, because you're like, okay, she's moved past that.
Yeah.
What works now? Who is Marissa now?
Yeah.
And same with me. I'm like, who is Samina now? Like, it serves us well to continue to ask that question, because as long as we're here, we're changing.
Right.
Like, that's the only promise outside of death, is
right.
that things are going to change. And so I have to give you that space to change and appreciate you, and vice versa, and be like, how can I best support you? And sometimes it's like, as harsh as it may sound, it might be distance, right? Like, I need a little bit of space right now, but
no,
but like, I'm gonna come back, right? Or like, we're gonna figure it out. But I guess it goes back down to openness, the openness of any parent and any child.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like once we allowed for both of us to be open, instead of your feelings only to be open or my feelings only to be open, like both of our faucets were on and running at all times.
Right.
And if you can...
Ooh, and that water bill is high, by the way.
It is high. It's a high investment, okay? It's a high investment. But I'm telling you, to have the water running and knowing you can always go get some water...
Yes.
There's nothing like it.
Priceless.
It's priceless. I would pay that bill over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it's like... and having these conversations and hearing people in these adult, at my age, having these tension-filled relationships with their parents, it makes me really sad. Like, I legit could cry right now in this conversation, because I just remember my realization moment of high school, and I was like, oh my gosh, my mom could have died in that period. And we're always on borrowed time, right? We know that. But it gets really real as adults, because you hear your friends' parents are dying. Some of your friends have lost their parents. They've lost siblings. They've lost friends, colleagues. And because you're hearing it
more constantly.
Yeah.
More
frequently, you're just like, oh, it could be mine today or tomorrow. And so to know that there are so many children, adult children, that are not talking to their parents, I'm like, oh, thank God ours happened so early.
Yeah, I'm thankful.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, because I'm like, we've been working at it since 18.
Yeah, but it's not just about it being done early, because some people, it happens early, but they still never come out of it.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So for us, it's the fact that we could recognize that we still love each other.
Yeah.
Right. And no matter if we think differently, right, at the end of the day, I love you for who you are. You love me for who I am.
Yeah.
And we just have to learn to accept each other and love each other at that moment for what we're doing, right? And so, and we've been able to come to that conclusion where a lot of people haven't come to that. And so I think we were able to come to it quicker, resolve it quicker. That's probably the better word, because I feel the longer the time elapses that you're broken apart, it's harder to reconnect,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, I continue to pray that all of the kids, all of your friends,
Yeah.
and that are struggling with the pain, and not everyone that they're struggling. I still continue to say, me as a mom, as a parent, we hurt just like as well. And if they're not reaching out, you just go ahead and continue to reach out. Until, because those walls will get broken down eventually. It's a matter of sometimes what do you stick a wall with? I don't know what's the stuff in between the bricks, putty or
Cement?
what. Yeah, there you go. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's hard to chip it away. You can tell I'm not a builder. My house is not made of brick, so
Exciting.
exciting, yeah. So sometimes it's harder to break down those walls, and so it may take a little bit longer to chip it away, but eventually,
Yeah.
both sides will soften,
Yeah.
and realize that we're placed here together, and I love you, and that's when the sorry comes together. I'm sorry, but just know that it does come.
Yeah.
But the longer you wait and procrastinate and put it off because of the feelings, I think the harder it is. So
Yeah.
if I can say anything, 1, reach out. 2, the sooner the better.
Yeah. And 3, I'll just add to that. 3 is just really what we've been talking about. Just say you're sorry.
Yeah.
But really mean it. Don't just do it for
The words.
the words or the credibility to say that you said sorry. So you need to forgive me.
Yeah.
It's really assess. And to your point in this conversation earlier of say sorry to yourself first. Say sorry that you held the grudge. I think that was one thing with me. I remember as I was man, Marissa, how stupid are you to hold that grudge? And then I had to apologize. I literally had to apologize to myself. Because I was how is this serving me? It's not. I still want my mom. Me telling myself I'm stupid for holding that grudge doesn't do anything.
Right.
In the process. And so, yeah, I'm just oh man, this is hard. Just because I'm thinking of, I see all the faces right now of all the conversations we've been having recently. So as you said, I'm just praying that whoever hears this, whenever you hear this, that by the end of this episode or by the end of the day or by the end of this week, whenever, there's no expiration on it, but that you apologize to yourself first and start that healing process.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Well,
I like that. Alrighty.
is there anything that you want to apologize? Say, not to me. Say sorry.
I'm sorry that she dragged me into this one. No.
Is there anything currently that you want to say sorry to yourself for? Is there anything you haven't forgiven yourself for?
No, I don't think so.
I love that.
I don't think so. I think I've pretty much worked through all that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've made many mistakes along the way. But the one thing I learned to do is I would write a letter to whoever it was that I was mad at. Once I put it on paper, Not to put in the computer, but I'd actually write it out, guys.
Yeah.
You know, write it on paper, because that's how you get it out. Instead of you saying it,
Yeah.
I would write it on paper, and that was almost my apology.
It was like cathartic.
Yeah, and then I would burn it, throw it away, whatever. I would never hand it to him.
Yeah.
But it was my way to get it out, to actually help me get past. Now that I've let that go,
Yeah.
then I can get past that, and I can now actually reach out and say, I'm sorry for whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
What
good.
about you?
Oh man, I told you this. I've been doing a lot of inner child work, and I've done a lot of inner child work on my kid self, like preteen. Mm-hmm. But I'm really fighting the 20-year-old, 21-year-old me right now. She wants to rage. And so I will say I'm sorry to her. I don't think I'm giving her as much empathy as I should. But yeah, if I could say I'm sorry to anybody, it's the 21-year-old me.
Okay.
Like, you don't deserve the hard time that I'm giving you. Just be patient with me. I'm working through it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
All right.
More to come. I'm sure I'll explain it in detail one day.
Yeah.
But for now, that's who I'm meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love that.
Yeah. Well, that sweet roommate, one that we were just talking about, has just entered the chat.
Yeah.
So
She's letting us know it's time to wrap.
it's time to wrap it up. It's done. By the way, I just feel like I should own this because she just walked into the building. August 23rd. If y'all don't, where's the book? It's in the room. Okay, August 23rd. Everyone needs to subscribe to Hulu because my wonderful roommate, Abigail Achiri, is starring in The Supremes. Oh, Earl. The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. I was like, I know this. And you have to watch it. It's amazing. It's incredible. I'm going to just say it now because I feel like I'm not going to get in trouble. I did sneak in and saw an early viewing of it. It's phenomenal. She plays Clarice. I almost gave away something else, so I'm just going to stop now. Go watch the movie, and yeah, that's it. We'll talk to you on the next episode of Uninvited Guest. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to hearing from you on what you think of this episode. Bye!